Hello, how's everybody doing? I just woke up. My hair's not done. Don't care. I want to get started. I had some stuff on screen from last night that I want to get started with. So let's try to get towards that. Ooh, I look like one of those damn people from the Sanhedrin and shit. All right, work with this a little bit. Yeah. Now, this thing's not yet where I want it. I want to do some more stuff to it. Just wanted to give you guys a little peek. I gotta take this peak. It's gotta go down a little bit, and then some other stuff has to happen. But I was like checking this out, right? And I was like, I think it's funny how when I put this on, and it makes me look like little Sanhedrin dudes and shit, you know. I keep pulling it to the wrong side. I don't understand. Backwards, huh? I'll sit there and play with this thing for a whole hour, man. We won't get anywhere. All right, so it reminds me of those Pharisee cats. You know, you see the Pharisee, you see the law keepers. I don't care if you think Pharisee are evil, whatever. You see the law keepers, and they always had things like that. And they always had a garment coming down, veiling at least the sides of their face and shit like that. You know, but getting into that and working on that a little bit more, I could probably bang out something pretty smooth. All right, my hair is all messed up. Well, we're gonna go into the information I had out yesterday. I was sent this video and I was asked to look at it, and I looked at it. Uh, let's listen.
I was in the April conference in 2003, and we were standing outside the conference center. That was right after the 2002 Olympics, and so they had these new security protocols in place. So everybody was standing around on the outside of the plaza, waiting to be able to go through the scanners to go in and get into the session. And I noticed there was this huge banner, this great big banner outside of the conference center, and it said very clearly, it's a big white banner with big red letters, and it says, "DNA proves the Book of Mormon is false."
Okay, so what we're doing is he's going to be talking about this video right here, this hour-long video. Now, we've done a video on this before, DNA versus the Book of Mormon. Now, when we get into this, I want you to understand this title that's negative towards Mormon says DNA. It's 9 years ago. DNA does not prove the Book of Mormon to be true. Now, look how they copy the exact title. Incredible new evidence. So the point of this video is actually to fight this video. It truthfully, listen, if these people wanted to prove that Indians were Mormons and shit, then there would be a better way than YouTube. Now, I can't help that 9 years ago, an hour-long video came out and completely damaged the reputation of Mormons, but making this video to counter it didn't help, because here's where he messed up.
And I was looking at that, and at the time I had access. I was working on a natural sciences textbook project with some colleagues, and had access to some of the top research libraries in the country. And I said, you know what? What's the answer to that? Not that I needed to have an answer for myself, but I know that Mormon is true. So therefore, I know that there's going to be answers for it. Now, sometimes the Lord may have us wait. It may be actually beyond our lifetime. But there's going to be an answer for this. And so I decided, I'm going to at least look into this whole DNA question. The DNA issue has become a huge issue. And it still, even today, is a very large issue for many members of the church. There has been literally, I don't know if I'd be, tens of thousands or whatever, but thousands of people who have left the church over the issue of the lack of DNA evidence to support the Book of Mormon claim.
Okay, so what he's saying, literally, is because of this video, DNA versus the Book of Mormon, that came out 9 years ago, this video has literally crippled the church. It has crippled the Mormon church. Now, if you deal with Mormon Mormonism, you'll see there's a lot of little pockets of what they call cult groups. Now, go further into this.
So the Hebrew people being here someplace in America, back in the time frame of the Book of Mormon. And so I started looking into it. I started finding some very interesting things, and essentially, in a nutshell, what happened was when DNA sequencing became possible, as they started to sequence DNA from Native American populations through North, Central, and South America, they found that their DNA could be categorized into one of 4 primary groups called haplogroups, or I'll just call them lineages. And so you have they call them haplogroups A, B, C, and D, and they found that the markers that differentiate between these 4 groups, all of those markers could be found in Asian populations, which basically links all Native American peoples here in North America to Asia. But
now, what he just said was blood of the North American Indians links them to the Asians. Now, the people that we call Asians, they're Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Lao. You see what I'm saying? So the American Indians' DNA has already been tested, and he is related to the people that are Chinese, Japanese, Lao, things of that nature. Now, if you push the limits on what's considered Asian, then you're still even adding in North Korea, South Korea, and all those on the in-between. So you get what I'm saying? So this dude done accidentally broadcast that Native Americans are really what? Part of the lineage of Asians. Now, that's what DNA proof. Now, I've showed you videos where I just open my mouth and say, look at how that Chinese man matches the person, the Japanese man matches the person that's in Canada claiming to be an Indian. Then I started saying stuff like, something must have happened during the time of Hiroshima when they would sit there and say, oh, you can drop a bomb on us, but we have to be incorporated into all these other nations that are in the U.S. Okay, was the Japanese incorporated into Hawaii before that? No. Were they incorporated into any place else before that? No, not really. No, that was some kind of contractual agreement. You destroy these people that's on our soil, drop a bomb, and move these elite families out of Japan and into the world. And that's what happened. Look at this shit today.
In his family, were they Asian? No, they weren't. They were Hebrews. They came down to the lineage of Abraham.
Okay, now he's just lying. And I'm going to prove that he's lying. Now, he thinks he's biblically being correct, but he doesn't control the DNA. All the people at the DNA store did was prove that through a lineage that the people that call themselves Native American, that look Mongol, are related to the Asians. That's all they did with the DNA. The DNA didn't come back and they didn't read and it said they're Hebrew. The word Hebrew wasn't on that shit. Like he said in the first statement, the words Asian came up.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're not Asians. And yet, when they sequenced the DNA from the Mayan kings down in Central America, for example, they found that they were 100% Asian.
Okay, so the Mayan kings are Asian, right? Mayan kings are Asian. Now, the Indians are related to Asians. And of course, Asians are Asians, right? Now, in a second, he's going to say Mayan kings are not related to North American Indians. Now, how can the North American Indians and the Mayan kings be Asian but not related? See, we're leaving out a really big term that's being marginalized. It's called Afro-Asian. Now, this again is the marginalization of you, your culture and name being stolen by these evil fuckers. Now, I don't care if you say, well, they're not evil, blah, 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 blah. They stole your name. They're literally walking around pretending to be you without the image of you. They're doing business in your name. Oh, fuck. I will show you. I will show you. It doesn't even matter if I say this right now. I'm going to show you in writing.
And of course, that doesn't bode well for the Book of Mormon, because the Book of Mormon should, the evidence for the Book of Mormon should indicate some sort of a Hebraic or a Hebrew people, not Asiatic people, as far as that's concerned. And so, actually, there was a DVD called DNA versus the Book of Mormon that was put out by a company up in Brigham City, Utah.
Right here.
Ministries. And that DVD has been pretty devastating.
9 years ago. 9 years it came out, and it ripped the shit out of these fake Mormons.
The reason why is unfortunately because at the time when it was produced, which was in 2003, it was actually, 2002, beginning of 2003. The information in it from a genetic standpoint was actually correct. There was no evidence for Hebrew people among the indigenous populations of the Americas. And then there was an interesting interview, actually, that was done during the 2002 Olympics with President Hinckley. There was this German reporter, and he asked President Hinckley, what's going to be your church's position when DNA shows that there's no evidence for the Book of Mormon? And President Hinckley was almost visibly upset by the question. But he kind of actually cut off the reporter and said, that hasn't been established yet. We don't know the answer to that yet. He says, as far when it comes down to the genetics, he says, we don't know the answer to this, not at this point. That was in 2002. I submit that President Hinckley is a prophet of God, because 1 year later, articles started to come out in scientific peer-reviewed genetics journals that talked about a new founding lineage. These four lineages. They found a new founding lineage, which was primarily found among the Algonquin-speaking language groups of North American Indians. And they were indicated by 5 specific markers in their DNA that differentiate them from the other 4. And when they went looking for these 5 markers in other populations around the earth, guess where they found them? They were in the Druze population of Israel. They found that they were later on Israel. They were in the Druze population of Israel.
Okay, so let's stop right there for a second. So now this guy sits here and says all this stuff. Now he done brought up the Algonquin Indians. Let me bring that back up to the part where he says that real quick.
In other populations around the earth, guess where they found them? For these 5 markers and markers, American Indian, new founding lineage. These were each of these 4 lineages. They found a new founding lineage, which was primarily found among the Algonquin-speaking language.
Okay, so the Algonquin-speaking language. Now let me read this again to you. Now I'm not going to bring it up on the computer. I'm reading from America Being the Latest, Greatest Description of the New World. My cover fell off. You can see the title right there. The principal tribe. Now this is about Canada. All right. Now these people are fucking lying. They want to say that these people are fucking Mongol Indians, Asiatic Indians. They're lying to you. These people are Afro-Asiatic. Now listen very carefully. The principal tribes of the ancient natives. Now these are the natives that were moved by the French. Okay? The French going to Quebec, which being made a colony of the French, the natives expelled, came to be entitled to St. Croix. St. Croix, that little ass place. It's not even an island. I thought it was an island. A little ass place on a border between Maine and New Brunswick. The principal tribes of the ancient natives of this country were were to the north side of Canada, the Canadians, the Benishemites, the Hurons, who are the Wyandots. I'm gonna break this shit wide open right now. And the Algonquins, the Quinoglobins, the Algonquins, and these are all Hebrew tribes. This has been hidden from you. They do not want you to know this. They will find a way to stop this video. You will learn it here in America, and 280 countries will not be allowed to see the true names of the tribes of what we call Israel, the true names of the tribes of the children of the Creator. The Benishemites, the Hurons, the Algonquins, the Quinogoblins, Quinoglobins, however that's pronounced, the Algonquins, the Atogopatans, the Atikamekins, the Nipisirinias, or whatever, and on the south side, the Edichimins, all right, and the heads of the tribes or princes of these tribes were called the Sagamores. So now the Hurons are called the Wyandots today. All right, we're gonna we're gonna crack this right wide open. We're gonna take the beehive and just fucking, this time instead of shaking it, we're just gonna fucking slam it. All right, this is, it's done.
Groups of North American Indians. And they were indicated by 5 specific markers in their DNA that differentiate them from the other 4. And when they went looking for these 5 markers in other populations around the earth, guess where they found them? They were in the Druze population of Israel. They found that they were, later on, additional research found that they were in the Ashkenazi Jews population.
People that say they are Jews and are not.
Which is the largest population of Jews on the planet.
No, that's the biggest problem. These Christians have a book that says that people are pretending to be Jews and are not. And these Christians keep pushing the fact that they love the lie. This is syncretism at its best. This Bible says these people are ruddy. They look like the Ethiopians. They're called nigger, and their hair is of wool. And this to say, oh, well, these Ashkenazis are the Jews, and then give them this. It has to do with military domination. This is colonization. It's all it is. These white modern men are in on it. Why would they get this specific asshole to sit in front of the camera and talk this shit? Talk about DNA markers. You know that every white male has a DNA marker, and it goes back to what we call Africa, what used to be called Assyria. But they're going to tell you they're European, even though their DNA says they're from the soil of Africa. Now they tell you they're American, even though their DNA is R1b, which go back to Africa. Now all these white people, all these Caucasians, all these Asians as well, keep saying to you, you're African. When the history and their DNA proves they on foot walked out of Africa. History literally proves your ass ain't never stepped foot in Africa.
It's in the Sephardic Jews, the Libyan Jews, the Moroccan Jews, the Tunisian Jews. All of these diverse Jewish populations around the world have these 5 markers, which are also found in the Algonquin-speaking language groups, which is about 110 Native American tribes in North America. For example, the Sioux and the Cheyenne and the Blackfoot, the Cherokee, the Iroquois, the Ojibwe, the Sac, the Fox, Potawatomi, the Penobscot. All of these tribes, and mostly concentrated in the Great Lakes region of the United States and Canada, is where they find these 5 markers and these people. And so they actually they started to dig up bones from the ancient mound builder civilization that occupied the heartland of North America. And when they sequenced the bones directly from those people, they found the same 5 markers, and they carbon date into Book of Mormon timeframes.
And that's where he messed up. That's where he messed up bad. Because we all know that for a great amount, the Amorites are credited as mound building. Now, when you done brought up mound builders, you done brought the Amorites to it. Now, when you say you go into those mounds and you do those 5 DNA test markers and it match the fucking Indians and it matched the Asians, all you did was exactly what you said in the beginning of the video. You matched who was related to whom. See? Because I still got the secret. Don't worry about it. It's coming up. It's going to be revealed in this video. I'm going to give everybody the big secret. And it's not going to be that Amorites are Israelites. It's not going to be that these Indians are Hebrew. It's not going to be these Indians related to Amorites, related to Asians are fucking Hebrew. No. I'm going to slam the beehive.
So, unlike the Mayan civilization in Central America, which has no evidence for any Hebrew population.
Okay, now the Mayan have a huge amount of evidence to be a Hebrew population. They have their own writings, and when their writings were destroyed by the Spanish because the fucking writings said they were Hebrew, they still told the monks, and the monks wrote in their books that these Mayan and these Aztec have claims that they're transverse the world and that they are the Hebrews. Now I done showed you in the mystery of the Mexican pyramids from 2 different points, 2 different friars, monks, whatever the fuck they want to call them, land thieves, came over preaching Christianity, saw that these Indians that were relatively harmless were being slaughtered. And so they wrote, Columbus is the most evil motherfucker on the face of the earth. Right? So let's listen to some more Mormon bullshit.
And these up here do have, solid genetic evidence that they came from that. These tribes.
Now, you just heard that motherfucker say sologenic, right? Like, that's a made-up word. Sologenic, right? Listen again. When you make shit up, it goes to a great extent.
Came from that. These tribes today, solid genetic evidence that these up here do have, solid genetic evidence that do have, solid genetic evidence that.
Can somebody send me the definition for the word sologenic?
They came from that. These tribes today came from their ancestral people are the mound builder civilization of North America. They're not the Mayans from Central America. And so that led me to go, well, good grief. Maybe.
Okay, so now here's the big part that he just accidentally told but didn't really think he was telling. Mayan are not the mound builders. That's right. Mounds are just, placed all throughout America. And he just said the Mayans didn't build that. Okay? Now, who built the mounds? And if the Mayans have writings that they are the Israelites, then does that mean that the Israelites didn't build the mounds if there are no genetic links between the Mayan and the mound builders? And since there's no genetic links between the Mayan and the North American Indians, but there isn't a genetic link between the North American Indians and the Mayan and the what? Excuse me. I'm sorry. There is a genetic link between the Mayan and the Asians, but there is a genetic link between the North American Indians and the Asians, but there's no direct link between the Mayans and the Indians.
Maybe there's something to this. But what I found is that there is a very highly organized and entrenched group of scholars, primarily, have been from BYU, who have, over the course of time, been looking for evidences for the Book of Mormon down in Mesoamerica or Central America among the Mayan civilization. And they've done extensive research and extensive writing and so forth. What we found is that they have done this primarily because it was believed that Joseph Smith thought that the Book of Mormon happened in Central America. And so really, now this is before there's been...
Now, that's something that hasn't been said. We've heard many times that the Book of Mormon happened in North America, but we have not heard that the Book of Mormon happened in Central America.
Breakthroughs in the last found is that they have done this primarily because it was believed that Joseph Smith thought that the Book of Mormon happened in Central America. And so really, now this is before there's been some really breakthroughs in the last year, just in the last few months in regard to that. But prior to that, I wanted to find out, well, what did Joseph Smith know about all this? I mean, he obviously saw angels, and he met with some of these actual people from the Book of Mormon time frames, these prophets and so forth that came to actually visit him. But what did he really know about it, the geography of the Book of Mormon? And then that led to an intensive study about Joseph Smith and what he knew about this. And probably some of the most powerful things as far as that's concerned is that Joseph Smith, there's really 2 or 3 different things that really indicate what Joseph Smith knew as far as this is concerned. One of them is that he was commanded by the Lord when the very first copies of the Book of Mormon, after they were just now coming off the Grandin Press there in Palmyra, New York. And the Lord commanded Joseph Smith to send missionaries unto the Lamanites. And this is all recorded in the Doctrine and Covenants. So this is canonized scripture. So in section 28 and 30 and 32, the Lord commanded Joseph Smith to send Oliver Cowdery, Peter Whitman Jr., Parley P. Pratt, and a guy by the name of Ziba Peterson to take those first copies of the Book of Mormon and go unto who? The Lamanites. And in every single one of those sections in the Doctrine and Covenants, it specifically calls them Lamanites. It didn't say to go to the Indians. He said go to the Lamanites. But in section 32 of the Doctrine and Covenants, right after he called Ziba Peterson, the Lord said something very critical, very important. He said, and Ziba Peterson shall go with them, and I myself will go with them and go before them. He says, I will be in their midst, and that nothing shall prevail against them. This is a personal guided tour by the Lord himself to the Lamanites. Now, big question is, as a member of the church, do you believe that the Lord knows where the Lamanites are located? Because if you do, then this is a personal guided tour by the Lord to those people, to the actual remnant of the actual Lamanites who were here. And where did they go? Parley P. Pratt wrote this in his journal, and later on it was in his autobiography. They went to go visit 4 tribes. They were the Cattaraugus Indians in New York, the Wyandots of Ohio, and I can't remember the last name, but they were in 3 places: New York, Ohio, and Missouri. The Wyandots of Ohio, and I can't remember the last name, but they were in 3 places: New York, Ohio, and Missouri. They went to go visit 4 tribes. They were the Cattaraugus Indians in New York.
So just type in what he says. Cattaraugus Indians of New York, right? So when we type in Cattaraugus Indians, right, and we're just going to go to images, right? Now when you type in Cattaraugus and Indians, and here you go, you see these Asiatic Mongol Indians. Oh, what the hell knows what that picture's there for? Those are just white people. Cattaraugus article 1931, right? So let's just type in Cattaraugus people. All right, when I type in Cattaraugus people, they don't show me anything. All right, M.W. Smith brought this information and the video, and M.W. Smith always brings up that one of the cities in New York has a crest, and the crest has a white man standing over one of those types of Indians, knuckling up to him. So I guess New York has a rule that they don't want or don't allow what they term Indians into New York. Don't know why, didn't research it myself. You can see when I type in Cattaraugus Indians, they show you these quote unquote Asiatic European Indians. All right. Now, you heard this man and what he said.
I guess Indians in New York, the Wyandots.
Now we look at the Wyandots. Now, when we look at the Wyandots, this is what comes up first each time, right? And now it's the Wyandotte Indians of Kansas, right? Now he said the Wyandotte Indians of Ohio. You type in Ohio. Now, nothing changed, right? Now here, Wyandotte Nations of Kansas. Now here you have the Ohio Historic Marker, the departure of the Wyandotte Indians. 1817 Treaty of Fort Magus or something. Mesgis, or I don't know, opened much of the northwest Ohio to white settlement. In return, the U.S. government granted the Wyandotte Nations permanent use of the Grand Reserve at present Upper Sandusky. Their farming continued, a school was built, and in 1824, this mission church was constructed by Indians and Methodist missionaries. However, the Indians Removal Act of 1830 called for relocation of all Eastern Native Americans to areas beyond the Mississippi. So did you know that in 1830, all the Indians that were in the East were forced on the other side of the Mississippi? Did you know that? Now listen close. And by 1840, Ohio Indians had been removed except the Wyandot, who refused to leave, preferring instead facing to stay upon their beloved Sandusky, now known as Killdeer Plains. Facing considerable pressure from federal authorities, the Wyandot Nation in 1842 agreed to relinquish the Grand Reserve and now move. So now you understand when they say, when you're forced to make decisions at gunpoint, right? Now this is the Army telling them you got to leave or we're going to kill you. After they already made deals with other white men, here comes the Grand Authority, the federal authorities. The Wyandot Nation in 1942 agreed to relinquish the Grand Reserve and move west. From this site on July 2nd, 1843, 664 individuals began their week-long journey to awaiting steamboats at Cincinnati. The Wyandot were the last organized Native American people to leave Ohio, settling in modern-day Kansas and Oklahoma, continued on other side. Okay, so you can see one group of white people that actually lived in Ohio made deals with them for them to be able to settle. Dear Indians, please let us settle here. We have no place to go. White man, we'll make deals with you to settle here as long as we can always use our heritage place. Right? So they get a foot in the door, and then they go, oh, well, our military's coming. We don't have no control over them. And the military come and say, all right, you motherfuckers, get out of here. We're going to just murder all of y'all under significant amounts of pressure. Kid missing here, wife stolen there, man beat up, wife end up raped, kid end up dead. And eventually you say, shit, I got 3 other kids. I want them to leave. You have a meeting and you say, look at what these evil white bastards have done. These people are so evil, they'll attack our children and our women. We have to get away from them if we want to, what? Exist in the future. All right, so then he says one more thing. Now listen to this.
Of Ohio, and I can't remember the last name, but they were in 3 places: New York, Ohio, and Missouri.
Okay, so 3 places. So basically, they were in New York. They got kicked out of New York. They were in Ohio. They got forced out of Ohio to the Mississippi. So they went 3 places. Why'd they go 3 places? Because the actions of fucking colonization.
And what's interesting, and I think it's more than interesting, I think it's critically important we understand, when modern day geneticists have sequenced the DNA from those tribes that they went to go see, every one of those tribes are the exact tribes that have the 5 markers in their DNA that link them to every Jewish population on the planet. Now, how did Joseph Smith know that?
Oh, well, how could that possibly be? See, these Ashkenazis, you're saying that these people that say they are Jews and are not and look just as pale as the white man, you say they are related to the North American Indian? You said all of them are. So the Ashkenazi as a whole race, not just a couple been fucking sleeping with Hebrews during some time periods, and there's a special branch that you're saying all of them. Let's listen to that one more time, because I don't want to just put words in his mouth.
Every Jewish population on the planet.
Every Jewish population on the planet. Now, Revelation chapter 2:9, them that say they are Jews and are not. Whoa, your Roman government wanted you to know that again. They didn't only leave it in Revelation 2:9, they left it in Revelation chapter 3. And what verse? The exact same verse. What? 2:9 and 3:9? Them that are of the synagogue of Satan and say they are Jews and are not? Then your white armies back them in your colonization campaign. Now, you got the Khazarians that have the AB Khazarian, right? You have a Khazarian and you have an Ab-Khazarian, right? You have the slaves that were enslaved in Tataria. Then you have the admixture and the shepherds that are actually Tatars, call themselves the tribes and still call the fucking slaves slaves. So they took the name of them. You got the Asians that ain't Asians, they're really African, and they took the name Asia from the Hebrews and whatever other brown people were over there. I see a pattern. The white people in Europe are from Africa. They overthrew the Aboriginal in Europe, and now they call themselves Europeans when the Aboriginal is really European. Don't believe me? French court said white French people can't call themselves French as a group because they're fucking invaders. All we see all over the world is overthrown Aboriginal groups and stringy haired people calling themselves the name of that Aboriginal group. You got fucking Europeans that are actually out of Africa that went to Europe, overthrew Europe, and then fucking continued colonization, came to America. Now they call themselves Americans. When the real native is brown skin, is copper color skin. Look, if white people come here and they don't see the actions of their ancestors, they want to argue about it, there's something wrong with you. These are your own books. These are your own books that your forefathers cast aside because there's too much truth in them. They don't go along with the Masonic lie today.
Now, how did Joseph Smith know that? Lucky guess, right? I submit that there's only one way that Joseph Smith would have known that, and that is because Joseph Smith was a prophet of God. And he knew exactly, he was not speculating about whether or not these were Native Americans were the Lamanites. The Lord said they were. And he said he was going to take them on a personal, private journey to go to these people and tell them. And tell them, this book is the history of your ancestors. Twice Joseph Smith did that with the Sac and the Fox Indians that had been driven out of their lands and across the Mississippi River into Iowa. And then they came back when the Saints established.
Now, did you hear that? Driven out of their land. Do you see a pattern? Whites come in, say, can we live here? You say, yeah, and eventually they drive you out of your land. There's a pattern. If you ignore this pattern, you're an idiot.
Nauvoo, they came back, one came back Mississippi River into Iowa, and then they came back when the Saints established and across the Mississippi. Joseph Smith did that with the Sac and the Fox Indians that had been driven out of their lands, had been driven out of their lands.
That's the same thing that happened with the Wyandotte Indians. That's the same thing that happened with the New York Indians, the Cattaraugus. There is a pattern that has emerged.
And across the Mississippi River into Iowa. And then they came back when the Saints established Nauvoo. They came back. One time they came back, and Joseph Smith said, he actually told them, this is in the history of the church. He said, this book is the history of your ancestors. And who told him? The Great Spirit. That's what he said. Joseph Smith claimed the Great Spirit, i.e. God, the Lord, had told him that this book was the history of the ancestral people of the Sac and the Fox Indians. Well, who are the ancestral people of the Sac and the Fox Indians? They weren't the Mayans. They were the Hopewell Mound Builder civilization of North American Indians.
Okay, so now, see, the more you talk, the more you keep fucking up. Now, you just said that they were the Hopewell Mound Builders. Okay, so you messed up. Now, I'm going to show you how you messed up. Now, when you say Hopewell, Ohio, and you say things like that, you go to Hopewell. Now, all you show is Mongol pictures of Hopewell Indians. Now, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Now, Hopewell isn't that far from the Newark Indians. Now, the problem is, I don't think that the Newark Indians, now see, right? Indians with rodeo fascinated by mystery of Newark. See, these motherfucking Indians have no idea who built the mounds. Now, how could these Indians be here before Columbus and not know who built the mounds? See, the problem is these Indians that you say have been here forever, they have the same non-existent knowledge of this place prior to the Columbus that the Europeans have. Isn't that interesting how when you say to people that have been here for fucking ever, where did these mounds come from? They go, Me knoweth not where mound come from. So somebody just came down and shit a bunch of dirt in the shape of a pyramid. And these guys that have been here forever, they know the creation story, they know this, they know that, about right where they're supposed to be at. Me no know how mound get here. This is what the fuck you telling me. Indians with rodeo, these traveling Indians, they're fascinated by mystery. Mystery means unknown. Me no know how mound get here. Oh, okay. Well, you don't know how to lift dirt? Well, I'll show you the Indians that do know how to lift dirt. All right. So when you type in Newark Indians, you get the Decalogue stone. Decalogue. Let's just type in Newark Indians Decalogue stone. Now, when you click here and you see here, I'm gonna put my face right up next to that. Now, you see that? What do you get when you look right there in the center of that? You see a fucking afro, right? Now, when you go to the Wyandotte Indians that are supposed to be the Lamanites, what don't you see there? You do not see an afro. So, how come the Decalogue Indians of Newark, the Newark Indians with the Decalogue stone, have an image of someone who calls himself Moses with an afro? See, this is my problem. These is the same motherfuckers preaching Christ. Truth, man. Truth. Jesus is the truth. No, Jesus is the fucking lie. And to hide the truth, you promote Jesus. Here we have fucking Moses or effigies or evidence that Moses was in the States prior to Columbus, and it's hidden. It's hidden, and it's hidden so well. A fucking gold palace called the Mormon Church is built off this fucking knowledge. Now, Joseph Smith went to the Wyandotte Indians, and this isn't what he saw. Joseph Smith went to the Cattaraugus Indians, and this isn't what he saw. Now, Joseph Smith went to the Wyandotte. Joseph Smith went to the Fox. Joseph Smith went to what? The Cattaraugus. Joseph Smith went to the Indians of Missouri. And what did he see? He saw niggas. He saw brown skin and Afro-Asian people. Now, if I fucking control DNA, and I'm evil, and I know all these people are related, yet I know I'm supposed to put them in the place to be the Hebrew people we're all looking for, it's easy. All I do is say they're connected to their brothers and then prove the connection to their brothers. They're related to Asian. They're related to the Mongolians, right? But the Hebrews aren't said to be related to those people. They're said to be related to the Egyptian through marriage. They're said to be related to Edom through blood. Why aren't these people saying that? We tested the DNA of the Hebrews, and wow, we found the Moabites, we found the Ammonites, we found the Edomites, we found the great Edomites who've been written about forever. These people know Kittim is Italy. These people know Rome sits in the heart of Kittim. They're fucking with you because they own everything that you need. They own your water. They own your food. They own the animals that you get your food from. They own the mountains that the rivers start with from when they stream down. They own everything. Any day they fucking want to, they say, lock that motherfucker up for anything. for cursing, for knocking something down, for dropping trash, for anything, for not paying your child support, for having too many bills, for anything. All right, we're going to continue here. I had to call Ed, man. Ed, let us find the truth on his webpage. Today we're not going to the Alexander Library. I was just playing around. We're going to go to the blog, and under the blog is Time to Wake Up, Babylon Watch, Definition of American. Now this video is going to show us some stuff, and we'll watch it through YouTube. Maybe we will.
Some girls crack under the pressure.
Never mind. We're gonna watch it here.
Participating in the 2016-15 session of the Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues. I am Hemok Sheila, Director General for the National Association for the Advancement of Indigenous People, located in Northeast Indian Country, America. NAAP is a United Nations registered IPO and was established by recognized and unrecognized Aboriginal and Native Americans, along with signatories foreign and domestic. I'm thankful for this opportunity, Honorable Chair. On the topic of Indigenous peoples' agenda addressing the first 6 steps, as I'm calling them, Indigenous peoples must first be recognized by colonizing societies as members of the human family. And the process of recognition must come from the top of societal leadership.
Okay, so what this man is doing is he is saying that I'm here on behalf of Aboriginals from the United States, and we are here so that we could be treated like humans. That's all he said. Now watch again.
6 steps, as I'm calling them, Indigenous peoples must first be recognized by colonizing societies as members of the human family. And the process of recognition must come from the top of societal leadership. In the United States, Indigenous people, American Aborigine, are not even allowed the basic right to identity and are labeled as commercial constructs, subjects, property. So the answer to today's topic of steps is the same for the questions which have been asked over by this convening body. The statement is the same. Before we can begin to speak about the process or a process to address these steps for Indigenous people, we must, as World Indigenous Aboriginal people, along with the United Nations countries, the United States, reform policies of misidentification, apartheid, and environmental racism against the Indigenous people of America.
So, as you can see, you are treated like dirt. On paper, you don't exist. On paper, your titles have been given to other nationalities. Now, you don't believe me, this guy is the speaker for his group, and he's sitting in front of the UN saying the same thing.
Every 2015 accomplishments and intent for 2016 through 2017 shall further embrace and assist individuals who are part of reclaiming their tribal cultural identity, implementing sustainable development platforms.
Did you hear that? Reclaiming their identity. Well, okay. You have to now ask, who has claimed their identity?
While actively assisting members in securing justice and remedy in many areas of their existence, including land claims, custody, and protection of tribal children from covert adoption and placement outside the indigenous community.
So you see what happens? When you start shaking that tree, right, to try to get the beehive, they just take your fucking kids. Listen to what he said. I'm not making anything up. When you start saying, I want my name back, they start taking your children.
And protection of tribal children from covert adoption and placement outside the indigenous community. Custody and protection of tribal children, securing justice and remedy in many areas of their existence, including land claims. Custody and protection of tribal children from covert adoption and placement outside.
So, what is the biggest thing that they want? Your land. What is the next biggest thing they want? You out of the way. What is the biggest thing that they use against you? Their claim to have the right to snatch your fucking kids from you.
Outside the indigenous community. Last week, NAACP registered 16 delegates, all of whom stood on this floor, awaiting an opportunity to demand justice. And the ears of justice ignored their presence. So today, I, Tushka, standing Bear Sheila, speak in their stead. In 2000.
So you hear that? He said a week ago, 16 of his people came to try to be heard. And those UN delegates ignored them. They just let them stay there the whole fucking time. So he brought Indians. He brought non-Afro Indians. You see the people sitting next to him? If in the farther back in the screen, you see the Asiatic or Mongolian type Indians that are there. He brought those Indians with him, and then the UN listened to him. 16 Afro people came the week before. They fucking ignored them all. So he had to reach out to other Indian groups to be able to be heard. You see what's going on?
2015, when we attended our first session, we were not allowed to make a statement. So this year we brought NAACP members from 12 different historical tribes.
Now, see, 12 different historical tribes. That means recognized. That means federally recognized tribes. So they brought members from 12 tribes. So they brought at least 12 members from other tribes so that they could be heard. Now, this is what, why don't you go to this? Why don't you go to court? Why don't you?
In 2015, when we attended our first session, we were not allowed to make a statement. So this year we brought NAACP members from 12 different historical tribes from Northeast America.
So when he sees that, he says that, you see her get up, right? Like, shit, this is what he brought us to the UN for. She didn't even, it seems like, at this point, it seems like she didn't even really know until she just got up when she heard what he was saying. Watch it again.
Different historical tribes from Northeast America. When we attended our first session, we were not allowed to make a statement. So this year we brought NAACP members from 12 different historical tribes from Northeast America, as well as tribal leaders from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic.
See the girl nodding her head right there? In agreement? So it seems this person that's with him understands what's going on, and this person, look at all the other empty seats. Look at the gray chairs. Don't worry about the tan chairs in the background. Look at the gray chairs. Empty seat, empty seat. There should be a chair between her and that empty seat, and then her seat, then his seat, and then this woman's seat. So we should be seeing 6 heads right there. We only see 3. We saw 4, and it went down to 3. Now watch again.
In our first session, we were not allowed.
Here, I'll bring this up here, back to here.
On this floor.
Now she's very attentive, right? This woman right here, she's very attentive. Now watch what she says, and she says, I need to grab my shit and get out.
Awaiting an opportunity to demand justice, and the ears of justice ignored their presence. So today, I, Tushka, standing Bear Sheila, speak in their stead. In 2015, when we attended our first session, we were not allowed to make a statement.
Now you'll see this woman start shaking her head.
So this year we brought NAACP members from 12 different historical tribes from Northeast America, as well as tribal leaders from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic to help in making a visual statement. It is unfortunate that we must attend this forum to visually show and say to the world, we, the dark Aborigine of America, are still here. The people who joined me last week but are absent today were bloodline family descendants of first contact American Indian principal leader Massasoit Osa Miquin. Massasoit.
So you can see, not all of us have our history taken from us. Now listen to how he said that again. The descendants of first contact are still alive. Or some descendants of first contact are still alive.
First contact American Indian principal leader Massasoit Osa Miquin. Massasoit. Osa Miquin signed the first treaty with King James, allowing the Europeans access to the lands of America. Today, by order of royal decree from Sagamore William Winds of Thunder Guy, the Treaty of King James.
So that's what we should probably look at next.
Osa Miquin signed the first treaty with King James, allowing the Europeans access to the lands of America. Today, by order of royal decree from Sagamore William Winds of Thunder Guy, the Treaty of King James and the Massasoit is hereby rescinded. The direct descendants of first contact indigenous people in America are not allowed to be recognized as who they are, but instead are forced to accept methods of paper genocide, misclassification, and forced U.S. citizenship assimilated as African American and other false identities. The United States must allow indigenous right to identity for the American Aborigine. The United States, being primary creator of the United Nations Charter in 1945, must be encouraged by the member nations and supporters of the United Nations to change its racist policies. These policies have continued to violate the rights of millions of ignored and misclassified American Aborigine indigenous people. We are not killed in the woods and forests like the people of West Papaw or Brazil. We are killed in the streets in broad daylight, and nothing is done about the killings in the street in broad daylight. That is my statement. Thank you.
All right, so that video is called Time to Wake Up, Babylon Watch, Definition of American. Now, that's funny because I always sit here and tell you these Europeans coming over here and they stole your land and they sit there and call themselves Americans. Like, why don't you guys call yourselves Europeans anymore? It's the same reason, because they stole that land. They don't, they're not a part of that. They're Assyrians and they forgot who they are. They have forgotten who they are. So, Ed, I was talking to Ed, and he showed me this video, and then he said his younger brother listened to what was going on in the video. Now, we listened to what was going on in the video. We think we took something away from it. We think we took a little bit of knowledge away from it. But Ed's brother took that extra step, and he said, well, let me start looking up some of the things that are being said in this video. So he looked up some of the things that are being said in the video, and he found this. And we're going to read this. And now, listen, most of us think that because we watch a video, we done did our part. And it's not, because we don't do any extra steps. That's why we're still in this condition. And see, when this man goes and starts arguing for all of our benefit, we should be right there behind him. It don't matter what he believes in. It don't matter if he thinks the Bible's evil. It don't matter if he thinks Jesus is cool, because in all reality, he's arguing for all of our identities that have been taken from us. Now, here's his page or his statement, the mission statement. This is the National Association for the Advancement of Indigenous People. All right, so it began as a research group studying the United States constitutional law pertaining to indigenous peoples of America and international law. The group has provided free research information to thousands of fellow researchers, ancestry seekers, native indigenous groups, tribes, clans across America. And nations across America. The NAAIP director and researcher, Harmak Khan Zel Exup, that's Shilup. The XE makes it Shilup. Says, along with NAAIP former judicial professors, researchers, and other indigenous advocates founded the institution under private tribal trust. That means it's a great deal. It's a foreign entity. It cannot be taken. I believe I'm saying that right. I'm not very good with law. They have established an exclusive indigenous member-only institution for the benefit of the Aboriginal people living under the colonized power of the United States government. Now, researchers pull from more than 600 years of international and national archive history to reveal hidden truths about the true diverse cultures and heritage. See, that's different cultures. That means there's different lineages. Heritage of Americans natives. Utilizing the historical knowledge of laws and treaties, the NAAIP representatives also provide private confidential support and assistance for members, which include sharing information, classes, instructional law, it does say instructional law, and indigenous judicial processes where members gain greater insight pertaining to privileges, immunities, and rights under international and American Indian law. The NAAIP also assists members with various indigenous-related issues. The NAAIP is an active supporter and member of the United Nations as an Indigenous Peoples Organization, an IPO. An Indigenous Peoples Organization, yes. All right, and they have a Facebook page, and you go there, check it out if you want to, and find out how to become a member if you'd like to. International affidavit and notice of constructive fraud, identity theft. See, this is what I told you. Without even knowing this, all last year, what did I say? We can make a legal case for fraud. And I showed you some of the key things. The monuments that say Negro Indians. Okay, there's no monument to these other Indians that have to do with the Seminole Wars, right? The act of them attempting to take the word Negro off of everyone's birth certificate. They spent millions already. All you do is you just type in, you open one of these Google Buddy. Okay, Google, open for me. And then you just type in removal of Negro from birth certificate. Over 22 million birth certificates. Now, they claim that there's like 35, something like that, 35 million. Now, half those birth certificates already said Afro American or African American. So they don't have to change those. Those are already perfect with the lie. Now they're going back and changing the Negro. Now, let's pretend, since it's printed on a special type of paper, let's pretend the government, it cost the government $5 to reprint, and then let's pretend it cost them $5 more to send those birth certificates back into circulation to their government buildings. Now, yes, you pay for them when you order your birth certificate again, but But to send them back to the government buildings and say, okay, here, it's on file now, or to upload it in the computer, whatever, right? Now they just spent $5 to $7 to reprint and then to have your shit typed into their database. They're not gonna, but here you have it, Fox 8 News saying they're reprinting, right? 22 million times whatever that fucking cost is just to hide your title as a Negro. In the 80s, it was cool to call you Negro, but now there's too much evidence that's done come up from the 1800s showing that the Negro is the Hebrew. Hebrew, period. Children of Shem. See, they where's all the other children of Shem? These people, the Moabites, Hebrews, children of Shem. Ammon, Hebrews, children of Shem. Esau, Hebrews, children of Shem. Where's all the other children of Shem? This is the whole point. Reprinting. Why? Because they want to hide your identity. Now, when you go further down this, they go over some definitions for you to understand when you're reading papers, understanding what you and your means, understanding what petitioner means, understanding what American Aborigine means, understanding what the term immigrant means. Negro within this notice means dark, black, mulatto, white, yes, white as well. Remember, the first Caucasians were black. That is a title that has been taken from you through war. Indian also is a term for Negro. When we go to Merriam-Webster's first and second edition, when you get to the definition of nigger, the third definition says it's offensive, means American Indian. Now, I read that once, and I can't fucking get that out of my head. Why'd they make a third edition? To trick the modern black man, dark man, the mulatto man, the white, the colored, the Indian, the Aborigine that's now reading English. That's why. Because you now constructively, not destructive, constructively read their language. Now they don't have to go back and change everything. So, here it states, Aborigine and is occasionally capitalized for the purpose of bringing respect and attention to the term Negro for the benefit of you, right? So you're supposed to say Negro is a heritage, and instead of a collection of different heritage set aside, marginalized. See, it's a term to marginalize. You had a great name in history, so you can never go to the encyclopedia and look up what your ancestors did. You're just called nigga now. Modern nigga. The Negro. What were we before? Nigga, please. You don't need to know that. Go back to work. All right. I'm going to scroll down here. And I'm going to say this for you, because this is the big thing. Now, petitioners and signers. All right. Just so we know what petitioners are. It says petitioners means signatories to this presentment who are in possession of official records validating their claims of being classified as Negro and colored Aboriginal beneficiaries related to those known as the Chickasaw, Chahata, the Chatot, the Shilu, the Chickasaw, the Chickesa, the Shak, Chihuma, the Chakchiuma, the Onondaga, the Creek, the Nagasat, the Cherokee, the Aniuana, the Kitua, the Lenape, Ah, the Lenape, the Delaware Indians. Now, when you type in Delaware Indians, they show you Mongol or Asiatic Indians. This black man, this man of color, arguing about titles, is showing you the true Aboriginal titles. He's not saying a bunch of different shits. He's not naming every Indian you ever heard. He's naming specific brown skin, Afro-Asiatic race. It doesn't even matter that you believe that you're from Africa. You're classified by he who you argue the records with as Afro-Asian. He who holds your records now labels you as African. The Kituwa, the Lenape, right? The Yamasi. Now, we all recognize the Yamasi when the Gullah was destroyed. That's why the Gullah is not on here. The Gule, because they were destroyed and they had to reform the Yamasi with other tribes that share the same characteristics. The Wyandotte. All right, now, when you see Wyandotte over here and you see these straight-haired people, and you know this person is arguing that the Wyandotte are what? Afro people. Here we have the term Seminole. We have the same problem with Seminole because when they when they put in stone Seminole Indians, they write Negro with it. Now, if you go over here and type in Seminole Indian, you see this kind of Indian, which is bullshit because the Seminole Indians fought out of Florida and they had Negro leaders like Wild Bill or Negro Bill or whatever his name was. They had Abraham, Black Abraham. Here, Seminole Indian. Here, I'll type in Abraham. Abram. What happens? Now black people show up. Now, if I mysteriously know the name of the leader or of any of the generals that were popular, now black images come up. Now, if I just type in the broad term Seminole, which there's only dark-skinned Seminoles, okay, then this proxy Indian comes up with stringy straight hair. Our titles were stolen. And when they didn't need our titles, they placed them on their cousins. If all white, okay, if I type in R1B and it says all white people are out of Africa, all white males, why I say that about the males but not the females? Well, all white males are out of Africa. When I go to etymology and it says the biblical name Ham is Cham and that's Mongolian, and I see all the Mongols, the Asiatics or Mongols, I don't care what anybody fucking say, all the Mongols have straight hair and the Caucasian have straight hair. When I go to R1A, and that's the Arab, and he's got straight hair, and R1A says it's coming out of Africa too. When I add a double F to Africa and change to the European pronunciation of double F being double S, saying Assyria, then the Bible makes complete sense. All these people that don't have afros are out of Africa. They're out of Assyria. And they've changed the history books so that the people that are Japhet that actually have wool hair and the people that are Shem that have wool hair, that they're what? That they're now labeled that they're from Africa. And the word Assyria is in no more, right? Nobody knows what the fuck Assyria is. All they can say is it's a region that was conquered around the Levant. They just keep lying and keep lying and keep lying. They done lied so fucking much, they almost forgot their fucking history. They forgot the breadcrumbs that they left. But we picked them up. Now, with the America being the latest, greatest description of the New World, now with finding Aboriginals that are actually up on the knowledge about who we were, now we know the names. Now, it doesn't matter that they already know the names. Now the rest of us know the names. Now, when we look up one of the names and we see fake Indians there, we see fucking Assyrians pretending to be North American Indians. Now we understand what's really going on. When the Bible says the Assyrians will enslave them, now we know what's really going on. Now, this is a black Seminole leader. A leader. How many leaders? Ain't we always heard too many leaders, not enough Indians? They had too many Indians, not enough leaders. Now, let's get back to this, because this says some amazing shit. So, the purpose of bringing respect to Negro is to put it in all caps, like you're some kind of great king or fucking with no history. For the benefit of you, the recipient, and not as a special entitlement for the identifier of or for the petitioners used as a political legal reference. Now listen, if you want to see what I'm reading and you're like, damn, where'd you get this? Go to Let Us Find the Truth. Go down to books. Go to the library. Go to the public library. Go to the Alexandrian Library. And then right here, last page. It's right here. Okay, so that's where we at. Here, we'll just leave that on there. It's not like we need to go back to that page for a while. Now let's scroll down some more. Let's find out some more, man. Don't stop. Addicted to this shindig. All right, so we're gonna go down here. It says we're gonna go to a part that says 2008. Again, here we have some of the more names. Petitioners and signers to this presentment are in possession of official records validating their claims of being classified as Negro and colored beneficiaries of 0 bloodlines. Now, I thought that was an O at first, like a digital O, but it's not. It's 0 bloodlines related to the... So Negroes are beneficiaries to nothing that has to do with the bloodlines related to those organically known as Chickasaw. So if the federal government says, okay, we're allotting the Chickasaw people $1 million, the Negro, who's actually the Chickasaw, okay, has nothing to do with that money being awarded. That's what's being said right here. All right. Beneficiaries of these titles, these organic titles, these organic means natural, right? Natural has to do with God. When they say Mother Nature, they're ignoring the Creator because He created these natural effects for us to happen. So these natural names that came out of natural lineages that have been taken from the Negro and the colored person get 0 benefits from government using these names publicly. They have fake Indians, fake, another term for fake, proxy, set in place. They have Mongols and Asiatics set in place to receive benefits, so they act like they're doing something nice to the people that they've conquered. See, this is how, now, when remember we go over the term cultural hegemony. This is how they sculpt everything so the world views that they're being respectful to the people that they conquered, right? But these aren't the people that they conquered. The people that they conquered were enslaved. See, and this is always fucking hidden, right? This is the big why. Now, again, we go over some of these names again. It's the Chickasaw, the Chata, the Chatot, the Shilu, the Chickasaw, the Essay, the Sakchiuma, the Chakchiuma, the Onondaga, the Creek, the Nagasat, the Cherokee, the Aniuwana, the Kitawa, the Yamasee, the Wyandot, the Seminole, the Geechee. Now we've heard about the Geechee and what happened with the Yamasee, and then when they say the people of the cat told me he lives in Georgia, and when regular niggas see the Geechee and the Yamasee, they say stay away from those niggas, the Geechee and Yamasee. That means the people of fucking Georgia already fucking understand that there's different breeds of nigger, and they want to say stay away from those types. Don't this go back to the thing I read yesterday, the 2 types of black, when the dude from Atlanta argued that in front of George Roane? It has to do with the black gum people and the blue gum people versus the red gum people. The black and the blue gum people, they from Muhammad, and the red gum people from South Africa. This is what the motherfucker tried to argue in Georgia in the fucking 1800s. And Judge Roane was like, oh, I like this. Tell me more. I'd like to set this up as a ethnological study. Right? So these motherfuckers already know there's a separate. There's the Geechee. There's the Yamasee. Stay away from those type of motherfuckers. There is nothing within us without unity. You've been taught from your parents, don't unite. Taught from your parents, don't unite. The Shawnee, the Shanawaki, the Lepe. What is that? What is the Delaware? I can't remember the 2 parts of their names. It's Lenape, it's something Lenape or something, but it's the Delaware Indians, heritages, and various others. No, let me scroll down. It has to stand out to me. You see this page? I can't highlight. When I try to highlight, the whole fucking page shifts. So I know we're going to 2008, but there's something else that came out. Now, when you scroll, if you get the time, read through some of these. These tell you how they kicked you out of your own land. Let's see. I think we read 1640. Evidence suggests that Negroes were becoming enslaved in tobacco colonies, Virginia, Delaware, Maryland. During this period, there is no transatlantic slave trade. They already got the nigga from here. I already told you ain't African. It don't matter that I bring up all these different evidences. It don't matter that this dude bring up these evidences, because you've been brainwashed that you from Africa. Again, in 1640, evidence suggests that Negroes were already becoming enslaved in tobacco colonies. Where are tobacco colonies? Delaware, Virginia, and Maryland. That's where we get our tobacco today. During this period, there was no transatlantic slave trade to America. They was already finding fucking slaves. In 1649, 9 years later, 300 Negroes in Virginia, about 2% of the population. And during this period, there's no transatlantic slave period. No transatlantic slave trade. So how is 2% of the 13 colonies, nigga? Because they came from the West. And they came from Canada. What's going on in Canada? You got the French kicking them out over there, right? French producing war to people that are unwarlike at this time in history. Oh, 1662, Virginia passes an anti-missegregation law. This law is passed to end Negro and European relations, including marriage. 1680, 18 years after that, slaves begin to increase the population from 4% in 1680 to over 20% in 1750. This is just what the Caucasian can account for. Remember, he's never been to the West Coast at this point. Of the populations and the lands that the Caucasian is trying to dwell in, he's estimating that the Negro, now there are other Indians to some degree, but remember, if you got the fucking mounds being built and you got Indians saying, I don't know how the mounds were built, then those Indians that don't know didn't come over too much sooner than the European or the people that are calling themselves Europeans, the Assyrian. No. If they sit there and tell you those people of Chad, those black people of Chad got R1B blood just as much as those white people, then that story of leprosy seems pretty 100. And if the land of Canaan is in Assyria, Africa, then that story of leprosy seems pretty 100. Now, here we have 1891. Oh, excuse me. Let me finish the rest of this. Over 20% in 1750 in the South, from 5.7 in the South to nearly 40%. All right. So the Canadian niggas came down and they were like, well, the North is okay, but wow, the South is pretty good. All right. So then you have a situation in this time period. This is accomplished without transatlantic slave participation. So whoever they brought up isn't being counted as Negroes with these people. You see that? They don't want us to understand that. Whoever they brought from the old world, whoever they brought from India, whoever they brought from Europe, the Moors, and whoever else, if the Edom's blood that was ruling, whoever else that they brought over here, and then replaced with sending out the people from Central America, South America, and still from Canada, because we have evidences that they're pushed. There's no way all those people are going to be pushed from Quebec on to New Brunswick without enslaving them or murdering them or both. Now, in 1691, Virginia passes anti-segregation law that prohibits all interracial liaisons. So that means no more concubines. It has nothing to do with marriage anymore. No more relations at all. Can't go to a whorehouse and sleep with a white person, and vice versa. Now, who's making these laws? White people are, because they can see that their numbers are going down as they mate with the Negro, because the children that come out are no longer Caucasian. Virginia passes this. Okay, Virginia requires manumitted Negroes to leave the state. So I believe manumitted, let's just look it up. There's no point in released from slavery. So if you were released from slavery, you have to get the fuck out of the state. This law ended all relations with the Negro, and all free Negro had to leave the colony. Oh, I could have just kept reading and it would have just kind of understood me. I would have understood it. It would have understood me. Fuck. Negroes in 1700 are now commonly being treated as chattel slaves. And that's in 1700. All right. Now, for some reason, you didn't come on a boat. You knew this was your land. And when they said, get off your land, you said, what do you mean? I gave you permission to fucking be here. And then they started using guns to be able to fight against your bows and arrows and spears. So, while you were sitting there building shit, they were sitting there designing weapons to be able to take your shit built. All right, I'm going to scroll down. Here, 1723, Virginia bars Negroes from the polls. So no votes. Go down. We're going to go to 2008. There we are. Now I'm going to read right above that. This is 2007. This is Clinton. Signed the Executive Order 13037. This executive order, I'm reading from right here. Can't highlight it right here. This executive order 13037, March 4th, 1997, is a clear example of commercial fraud and identity theft, which furthers the deception against the Negro by placing the Negro unknowingly into dire international debt, where the descendants of the Aboriginal could now face penalties of debt, which may include removal from natural lands to foreign lands. Listen very carefully. They can kick you out of America if you build too much debt based on this executive order. When you sit there and say, I want to go to Africa, they can say, we can send that one because they're down with the lie. When you sit there and say, this system's fake, this money's fake, they can sit there and say, okay, well, we've decided we want to send you to a fucking island by yourself where there's no food. We want to send you to Australia with the other criminals. We want to send you here. We want to send you to debtor's prison in this small isolated island that's a prison. This is what the Clintons did. They're a fucking team. If Hillary's president and then later their daughter's president, that's that's no different than Ptolemy's children all ruling, right? And then that becomes a dynasty. If any of Bush's children rule over us again, they become a dynasty, like the Greeks, like the Romans. These people are all related. So their bloodline has continuously been a dynasty ruling over us. So keep that in mind. So this dynasty can kick us off their colonized land. Now, these people all think the same. This law is probably in Jamaica. This law is probably in Canada. This law is probably anywhere the Aboriginals have been overthrown by colonization. The Clintons aren't self-thinkers. They're probably doing the same thing that was done sometime in history, whether modern history or ancient history. So when placing the Negro unknowingly into dire international debt, they're doing actions in your name, in my name. So they're not going into debt. You and me are. And this is what we fail to understand. When they use the last name Williams and they're Caucasian, it's my fucking debt. Which may include removal from natural lands to foreign lands. Now, why would they write that into law if they keep telling you you're fucking African? Perpetual peonage, perpetual slavery. See, they call it peonage, so you don't think it's slavery, right? Perpetual, constant, never ending. And every time I fucking read this to you, you don't give a damn. My show's on. Gotta turn TV on. Perpetual slavery. Unless we move, we're not getting out of slavery. Even debt under certain draconian foreign laws. They can do this to you because of foreign laws. That's what it really means, man. Foreign fucking laws. Foreigners came here with their foreign laws and used them on you to take your life, your land, your property, your children. The kids are just as valuable. And jurisdiction as a result of perpetual fraud and identity theft. In 2008, the Smithsonian Institute released indivisible documentary revealing the dual timeline. Two timelines? How could there be two timelines? Didn't I just explain this to you? Two fucking timelines. The real world understands the real world, and we understand what the Europeans been lying to us about for fucking hundreds of years. They say that you were carried away in 750, and fucking Europeans outside of America say you was carried away in fucking 1228. Two timelines. And you fucking come here and you think I'm just lying to you. You think I'm crazy. You think I'm stoned out of my fucking gourd. But in law, your titles are taken. The world knows you as something else, and you know yourself as just nigga. The Africans that are in Africa don't even fucking unite because they can look across and see the other Aboriginal group that's been placed there by Salmanassar or whatever Syrian king, whether it be Sargon or Sargon II or Tiglath-Pileser the first, second, or third, whoever did it. These people know they're not fucking related. The Smithsonian Institute releases indivisible documentary revealing dual timeline habitation between the Negro and Native American history predating colonization. Remember, these are the same people that hit it. Just scroll down. States Africans began sailing to the Americas many centuries before European arrival and well before 5000 BC. BC is just bullshit. It should say BS. His research shows the first Asians entering North America around 3000 BC. Bullshit. About 4,000 years ago, which they made contact with indigenous Black Americans who ultimately produced the first natives. Now, that's what's written. Here's the problem. Blacks were Asians. So it's Black Asians and Asians. Right? No, it's just Black Asians. Afro Asians came here and met with other Afro peoples. During the same time, Canaanites make their leave, followed by more Afro peoples coming with what's called the Exodus. That guy, Frank, whatever his name, said there's 4 migrations here. He states there's 4 Afro migrations. Now, if you count, what's the dude's name from Mystery of the Mexican Pyramids? If you count the Israelites, the Mayans coming here and saying that they're Israelites, then that's the 4th Afro migration. Now, those different Afro peoples mating with the different Canaanite groups make the different 500 tribes of Asian or Canaanite Indians. And then some come later, the ones that come later, that we don't even know who built the pyramids. We don't even know who built the mounds. We don't even know who built the pyramids under the mounds. Some are mounds, some are pyramids. All of them done been Johnny Appleseeded. All of them had Johnny Appleseed going around, Freemason, throwing different planning shit on top to hide it. John Kerry's great fucking relative. John Kerry, a Freemason? Yeah. Is that shit running people's family? Yeah. In 1881, John W. Campbell, Smithsonian, appointed Cyrus Thomas to be the director of the Eastern Mound Division of the Smithsonian Institute's Bureau of Ethnology. Cyrus Thomas commented, on Indian mounds in America. He said that there was a race of mound builders in America distinct from the Native American. Well, that comment goes hand in hand with what Native Americans say, right? Me no know who built mounds, right? Distinct from the Native Americans. But today's map, Cyrus Thompson's map shows 1 million Indian mounds in North America, but today's map shows less than 1,000. You see what these people done? Now they dig something up on the other side of the world. They're like, oh! They dig something up here. They're like, burn that shit. Keep the secret. And they kiss their little fucking Freemason ring. Fuckers. All right, so I think that is the stuff I want to highlight from this. Okay, so that's something else. That's a whole different ball of video. All right, so what we have here today is we have the misuse of DNA. We have people trying to say there is a lie, and we want to keep the lie going. We want to say these Native Americans are the mound builders. But in the 1800s, the Smithsonian, who started all this hide the Negro game, they already made a statement saying these mound builders and what they call Native Americans are not the same people. We can see the relation, the correlation between the mound builders and the blacks that are hidden in history, whom they say are from Africa, but all their DNA tests prove that they are from Africa. This Bible doesn't talk about Africa, it talks about Assyria. And when you see the linkage from the original names to the Mongols today, you see that the Mongols are out of what we call Africa, which is really Assyria. We've been lied to because we have something they want. But what we have, it's natural. That presents a problem to them. This isn't a problem they cannot overcome. Amalgamation will not solve this problem. See, and this is why they're stockpiling shit in the major cities where you were enslaved. You didn't go home far from your homelands. Don't you see they had to make laws to keep you out of places? You let people of Virginia in, then the people of Virginia start making fucking laws to kick you out of your natural habitat. And then you don't leave, so they enslave you. Then they free you, and you still don't leave. Then they make laws saying you have to leave, and then you still don't leave, so they jail you. Then they use you as a jailhouse slave to build more shit because you won't leave. Now it's all over. Now we coming to the point where God just said, well, I'll just destroy it all. I'm going to destroy that section. Now the ones of them that want to leave, I'll meet them. That's where we're at today. See you later. Hello, how's everybody doing? I just woke up. My hair's not done. Don't care. I want to get started. I had some stuff on screen from last night that I want to get started with. So let's try to get towards that. Ooh. I look like one of those damn people from the Sanhedrin and shit. Alright. Work with this a little bit. Yeah. Now, this thing's not yet where I want it. I'm gonna do some more stuff to it. Just wanted to give you guys a little peek. I gotta take this peak. It's gotta go down a little bit, and then some other stuff has to happen. But I was like checking this out, right? And I was like, I think it's funny how when I put this on, and it makes me look like little Sanhedrin dudes and shit, you know. I keep pulling it to the wrong side. I don't understand. Backwards, huh? I'll sit there and play with this thing for a whole hour, man. We won't get anywhere. All right, so it reminds me of those Pharisee cats. You know, you see the Pharisee, you see the law keepers. I don't care if you think Pharisee are evil, whatever. You see the law keepers, and they always had things like that. And they always had a garment coming down, veiling at least the sides of their face and shit like that. You know, but getting into that and working on that a little bit more, I could probably bang out something pretty smooth. All right, my hair's all messed up. Well, we're gonna go into the information I had out yesterday. I was sent this video and I was asked to look at it, and I looked at it. Let's listen.
I was at the April conference in 2003, and we were standing outside the conference center. That was right after the 2002 Olympics, and so they had these new security protocols in place. So everybody was standing around on the outside of the plaza, waiting to be able to go through the scanners to go in and get into the session. And I noticed there was this huge banner, this great big banner outside of the conference center, and it said very clearly, it's a big white banner with big red letters, and it says, "DNA proves the Book of Mormon is false."
Okay, so what we're doing is he's going to be talking about this video right here, this hour-long video. Now, we've done a video on this before, DNA versus the Book of Mormon. Now, when we get into this, I want you to understand this title that's negative towards Mormon says DNA. It's 9 years ago. DNA does not prove the Book of Mormon to be true. Now, look how they copy the exact title. Incredible new evidence. So the point of this video is actually to fight this video. It truthfully, listen, if these people wanted to prove that Indians were Mormons and shit, then there would be a better way than YouTube. Now, I can't help that 9 years ago, an hour-long video came out and completely damaged the reputation of Mormons, but making this video to counter it didn't help, because here's where you messed up.
And I was looking at that, and at the time I had access, I was working on a natural sciences textbook project with some colleagues, and had access to some of the top research libraries in the country. And I said, you know what? What's the answer to that? Not that I needed to have an answer for myself, but just I know that Book of Mormon is true. So therefore, I know that there's going to be answers for it. Now, sometimes the Lord may have us wait. It may be actually beyond our lifetime, but there's going to be an answer for this. And so I decided, I'm going to at least look into this whole DNA question. The DNA issue has become a huge issue, and it's still even.
The words Asian came up.
Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they're not Asians. And yet, when they sequenced the DNA from the Mayan kings down in Central America, for example, they found that they were 100% Asian.
Okay, so the Mayan kings are Asian, right? Mayan kings are Asian. Now, the Indians are related to Asians. And of course, Asians are Asians, right? Now, in a second, he's going to say Mayan kings are not related to North American Indians. Now, how can the North American Indians and the Mayan kings be Asian but not related? See, we're leaving out a really big term that's being marginalized. It's called Afro-Asian. Now, this again is the marginalization of you, your culture and name being stolen by these evil fuckers. Now, I don't care if you say, well, they're not evil, blah, 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 blah. They stole your name. They're literally walking around pretending to be you without the image of you. They're doing business in your name. Oh, fuck. I will show you. I will show you. It doesn't even matter if I say this right now. I'm going to show you in writing.
And of course, that doesn't bode well for the Book of Mormon, because the Book of Mormon should, the evidence for the Book of Mormon should indicate some sort of a Hebraic or a Hebrew people, not Asiatic people, as far as that's concerned. And so, actually, there was a DVD called DNA versus the Book of Mormon that was put out by a company up in Brigham City, Utah.
Right here.
Ministries. And that DVD has been pretty devastating.
9 years ago. 9 years it came out, and it ripped the shit out of these fake Mormons.
The reason why is, unfortunately, because at the time when it was produced, which was in 2003, it was actually, 2002, beginning of 2003. The information in it, from a genetic standpoint, was actually correct. There was no evidence that for Hebrew people among the indigenous populations of the Americas. And then there was an interesting interview, actually, that was done during the 2002 Olympics with President Hink. There was this German reporter.
Japanese, Lao, things of that nature. Now, if you push the limits on what's considered Asian, then you're still even adding in North Korea, South Korea, and all those on the in-between. So you get what I'm saying? So this dude done accidentally broadcast that Native Americans are really what? Part of the lineage of Asians. Now, that's what DNA proof. Now, I've showed you videos where I just open my mouth and say, look at how that Chinese man matches the person. I mean, the Japanese man matches the person that's in Canada claiming to be an Indian. Then I started saying stuff like, something must have happened during the time of Hiroshima when they would sit there and say, oh, you can drop a bomb on us, but we have to be incorporated into all these other nations that are in the U.S. Okay, was the Japanese incorporated into Hawaii before that? No. Were they incorporated into any place else before that? No, not really. No, that was some kind of contractual agreement. You destroy these people that's on our soil, drop a bomb, and move these elite families out of Japan and into the world. And that's what happened. Look at this shit today.
This family, were they Asian? No, they weren't. They were Hebrews. They came down to the lineage of Abraham.
Okay, now he's just lying. And I'm going to prove that he's lying. Now, he thinks he's biblically being correct, but he doesn't control the DNA. All the people at the DNA store did was prove that through a lineage that the people that call themselves Native American, that look Mongol, are related to the Asians. That's all they did with the DNA. The DNA didn't come back and they didn't read and it said they're Hebrew. The word Hebrew wasn't on that shit. Like he said in the first statement.
Today is a very large issue for many members of the church. There has been literally, I don't know if I'd be, tens of thousands or whatever, but thousands of people who have left the church over the issue of the lack of DNA evidence to support the Book of Mormon claim.
Okay, so what he's saying, literally, is because of this video, DNA versus the Book of Mormon, that came out 9 years ago. This video has literally crippled the church. It has crippled the Mormon church. Now, if you deal with Mormon Mormonism, you'll see there's a lot of little pockets of what they call cult groups. Now, go further into this?
Of a Hebrew people being here someplace in America, back in the time frame of the Book of Mormon. And so I started looking into it. I started finding some very interesting things, and essentially, in a nutshell, what happened was when DNA sequencing became possible. As they started to sequence DNA from Native American populations through North, Central, and South America, they found that their DNA could be categorized into one of 4 primary groups called haplogroups, or I'll just call them lineages. And so you have they call them haplogroups A, B, C, and D, and they found that the markers that differentiate between these 4 groups, all of those markers could be found in Asian populations, which basically links all Native American peoples here in North America to Asia. But
now, what he just said was blood of the North American Indians links them to the Asians. Now, the people that we call Asians, they're Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Lao. You see what I'm saying? So the American Indians' DNA has already been tested, and he is related to the people that are Chinese, Japanese.